Alright, welcome to the ARCA Menards series. We are at Nashville Fairgrounds. We're just in a test outside of the race. The current week 7's not over yet. Um, just trying to get some practice up on the Nashville Fairgrounds. Um, Fastest lap I could get was a 19.355, and we're going to go out and take you through that lap. Now, disclaimer, I'm definitely not a pro. My iRating's only in the 1.9K range, so take this with a grain of salt. For my chassis, I upped the steering ratio, I think 2 from where it starts at initially to a 14:1. And I believe for this, the default, I moved it up 2% on the front brake bias from where that started. Now we're going to make a high entry, hang up here as long as we can. As we start to get near this sign right here, that's where I start turning down into the bottom of the corner to come off and try to get as much speed, basically make the corner, or should I say the straightaway, as long as I can. Trying to get as much speed in there as I can possibly get. Now it's going to red line, bounce off the rev limiter. And we are beginning our braking just before the end of the pit wall, seen from the left side front pillar. So somewhere around where that cone is. You can also see that the steering wheel, I believe, is already turned. So we're starting our turn in at roughly the same spot. Ideally, we're aiming for the very bottom down here. Trying to stay at the shortest way around the track as I can possibly get. So we're braking, we're turning down, and we want to stay down here near the bottom. Now, we've still on the brake as we get into the corner. Looks like for this particular lap, we've let off the brake by about the time we get to the 5-star. We're trying to get back on the throttle to keep a little bit of throttle as we're coming through here, but do not try to get on it too hard. You will literally lose grip and loop the car around. The bunches of loss of control says that. Make sure that you try to get the car about as straight as humanly possible before applying full throttle pressure to the accelerator and shoot down the back straightaway. Now, and we are applying brake just before the other dirty part of this wall down here. You can call these available for sponsorship. This section of wall, there's 2 of them right next to each other. You can say just about as you get up, just as you start getting to the first sign, let off the throttle, start applying the brake pedal, keeping light brake pressure, aim down here for the bottom. I believe the turn in was probably somewhere very similar to that, because we're mostly going straight down the back straightaway, and we started turning before. We started turning as our bar here got to that available sign. And we're going to aim very much down here to the bottom. We're going to leave that light brake pressure, and then as soon as we can feel like we can get off of it, we got back on the throttle, off and back on again. As you start to get visible to this particular sign on the wall, as your pillar, this metal bar, um, gets to about this particular sign, we're going to start switching from our brake to our throttle very, very lightly. Trying to keep the momentum up around the corner, but staying all the way at the bottom. Starting to pick the throttle back up, but never full throttle. Always keeping it down here until we think we can really hammer back on it. And pedal down this front straightaway. And that was our 19.355. Now, let's double check just so that the information that's being given is correct. 63, that should, if what I said was right, I know I moved it up 2 full percent on the brake bias and a positive brake bias, not lowering it but raising it. I don't want to say the same in Nashville. 10 to 1, we bumped up to 14. This still says 63, but that's where the car is set to by default. When I get back out of the car, I believe it's going to go back up and say 63. So let's just, for the heck of it, try this. So if we raise our brake bias, come on, steering wheel, full 2%. Then we get back out of the car. Our garage settings are still going to say 63. So it wasn't 63, it was 65. 65% is where we had this set up with a 14 to 1 steering ratio. Again, this doesn't really make any difference. I was just finding it very difficult to, with a lower steering ratio, not over rotate the steering wheel when I entered the turn. So raising the steering ratio made it a little bit more forgiving when entering, so I wasn't reefing the steering wheel when we went into the turn. Trying to make it a little smoother on entry and a little bit, it's not going to be any easier to catch the car. I believe the lower steering ratio is going to make it easier for you to catch it, but I kept feeling like as I came off the corner when I lost it, even with that low steering ratio, there was really no way I was going to catch it. A couple times I felt like I could catch it better after I upped that steering ratio just a tiny bit to that 14 to 1. This was just where I had in this particular session, so I said that was the best lap I cracked off in my attempts of just doing some qualifying style laps to see what I could get, and that was after said roughly 100 laps of just coming out here. And I came out and literally just started being very conservative, letting off the throttle early, rolling into the corner without using the brake. And these were the lap times for those ones. But I literally dropped the brake bias about 3 full percent, and it just very touchy going in. These cars lose grip very easily. I think we're going to find a lot of cars losing it on entry, losing it on exit in both of these because there's just not a lot of grip, and you can very easily overdrive this going into the corner, as well as get back on the throttle too early, and it is not going to be forgiving to you when you do that. You literally need to stop the instant you notice that you've done so, and that may still be too late as the car breaks traction as you come off the corner and just loops around. And the outside wall, the inside wall, they're not very far away from each other. You're probably going to lose control and hit the, likely getting a 2X from loss of control, maybe getting more damage as you hit the wall. I think it's going to take a little while before the 2X to wear off before you get more incident points, but same thing entering the turn. I noticed that there was a lot of times that I would lose it going in, and the attempted correct to turn the wheel back to the right as the car lost rear grip and the rear end was coming around on you only ended up in me overcorrecting it and going up in and crashing into the outside wall. So maybe they'll spin to the inside. Good chance they'll attempt to counter the spin and end up holding it too long, the car grabbing and then snapping back to the right. So advice would be, do not try to hammer through any of those types of accidents, because you literally might drive up inside there, see them going down, and they snap back up and just collect you in that type of an accident. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously there's no cautions, so just be careful. If somebody spins, you have no idea what's going to happen, and there's no infield grass to be diving through to save you from that. But that's all I've learned from this particular session. I'm going to see if this holds true to any of the lap times in my actual session that I run before I post this. So hopefully this is pretty close to being a really fast lap. I don't know if I'm going to qualify for that or not. Really, it usually boils down to what is my car number for the session to determine whether or not it's going to be worth my time to qualify. My number's super high. Likely I'll just be at the back anyway. It may be safer to be back there. My car number's very low. I have a good chance of potentially qualifying, putting myself up in the front of the field, and hopefully the people behind me are the only ones that wreck and not the people in front of me. So this is going to be dependent on the particular session and people that end up in that session at the time I decide to run it. But hopefully this was in some way, shape, or form helpful. I ran some laps on the outside. It just didn't seem like it was any faster. In the test that I did, the wheel tire temperatures were much warmer trying to run that outside groove than they were on the inside. Wish I remembered, but there should be a couple sets of 10 here. This is one set of 10 running the higher line. So lap times weren't super duper low. 19.7 was the fastest I ran up there. On the bottom, does not look like I did all that great. 19.6. Fine to go up there. The tire wear is going to hit you real hard when you're running up there. Just because you're going faster, you have to go around the outside and stay at pace with the guys that are running on the inside line, the shorter distance around the track, and it just heats the tires up, and you're gonna burn that right front right off much sooner than the other ones. No cautions, no tires being put on under caution. You're not gonna want to do that if you don't have to. But 19.355 is the best I can run. Hopefully that showing you how that lap happened might be of some assistance in trying to help you get a better qualifying lap.